Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to Industry
Hello.
of Impact. Um, Industry of Impact is a LinkedIn Live series and podcast that is really focused on shining a light on people who make a positive impact on people, on companies, on communities. We like to say that in any industry, from industrial to tech, food and beverage, consumer goods, whatever it is, there are people out there doing great things for others. And that's what this is about. This is about connecting with those people. And our hope is that you, as an audience, as a viewer, will connect with our guests. Ours today has a lot of ways to connect, which I'll get to in a minute. But at least here on LinkedIn, connect with our guests and be able to walk away from episodes of this, of what we're doing here, with hopefully some inspiration, some ideas, actionable steps that just are hopefully going to enhance your life, your business. I actually read a quote today that I loved, and I think it kind of sums up why we're doing this. It was by Carl Sagan, and he said, "Who are we if not measured by our impact on others?" And I love it. I just love it. I think it is the core of why we like talking to people who are impacting other people. It helps connect others to them, and kind of spreads the love even more, which is just amazing.
Yeah.
My name is Mark Berger. I'm the VP of Marketing for AMI, and my co-pilot today, at least on my screen, she's over on the other side, Dodge. We like to refer to Dina as our hashtag label chick. She is more than that, obviously, but she is a label guru. But I'll call you Dina. I'm not going to call you label chick.
Thank you.
I'm super, super pumped to introduce our guest. Our guest today is a world-renowned welder, sculptress. I read that, not a sculptor, a sculptress. Artist, teacher, author, speaker, and overall badass, Barbie the Welder. Welcome, Barbie.
Welcome.
So grateful to be here, Mark and Dana. I'm so grateful for you guys taking your time and talking with me today. Thank you so very much for what you're doing for the industry, but also for what you're doing for me. It means the world to me to be here today.
Awesome. Well, we are extremely grateful that you are here. And I showed it off a little bit on some our posts earlier, but I dug in and I got one of Barbie's books called The Inspiration Blueprint. Barbie, just really quickly, you have a couple of other books, right? You've got this book, and what are the other books that you've written?
I've actually written 6 books currently. I have 4 more that are in the process of being published.
Wow.
So the 6 that are published there's 3 books on how to weld art. One focuses on animals using silverware. One is scrap metal art, and the other one is horseshoe art. And then I have 3 books that are similar to what you have there. The Inspiration Blueprint, How to Design and Create a Life That Inspires You. I've got a book called Fuck You Fuel, How to Turn Shit into Sugar, which it basically teaches you how to take every negative thing you've ever had happen to you in your life and turn it into fuel for success. And the third one is Honor Thy Art. It teaches people how to, and I need to come up with a different name for that one. It's got to be rebranded, which is also what I'm doing this week is wonderful. Honor Thy Art actually focuses on teaching artists and entrepreneurs how to be successful using social media to brand, market, and sell your business or your product for your business.
Yeah. Amazing.
That's great. I'll be buying a lot of books.
Yeah.
Say the 4 that haven't been published yet are it's a series of kids books that honor and showcase the skilled trades and craftsmen and craftsmanship. So it introduces kids to the skilled trades, which we need. We need our next generation to see how amazing the careers in the skilled trades are.
I love that. That's amazing. Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, I really off the bat, I'm curious. You know, you've gone from learning how to weld when you didn't even know, learning to be an artist, learning to be an entrepreneur, learning to market yourself, right? All of that learning along the way. How fun has this journey been for you?
What a great question. Today it's funner than anything, right? It is like brings me the greatest joy to create. Now it is, since I started this journey, I don't know if I would say fun in the beginning. Let me think about that. So one, I feel like I've always enjoyed learning. I'm very hands-on. So like yeah, it has been fun. There was like in the like so the learning to weld, super fun. The learning to create art, super fun. The business side of it has been riddled with fear and uncertainty and self-doubt and like all the gobbledygook that our brains go to work and do. It also, like, once I realized I was a business, which it took me probably about 2.5 or 3 years of being a full-time artist. About 2 years of being a full-time artist before I realized I was actually a business owner, in which point then it, it's that whole challenge accepted. I freaking love to challenge myself. I love to overcome obstacles. There's a lot of ignorance in my journey of getting to where I am. Like, I just had no friggin' clue. I knew I needed to make art, and past that there was no other really, like, hey, I've got to be a business owner and sell this. It was like, I have to create, like I have to breathe. The business entrepreneur side, came along after a while, but today it is so much fun. We were talking earlier, I'm like, I am rebranding my business, and it just brings me such deep joy to create in any aspect. And that's whether it's a business, whether it's a sculpture, whether it's a relationship with a podcast or with another company or an individual. I just love to create. It's, again, like I need to breathe. I need to create like I need to breathe.
Amazing.
For people who haven't read your bio, what got you started in welding?
Actually, I've got a really great, I feel like it's a great backstory. So in high school, like, my first love was auto mechanics and cars and trucks, mainly trucks. And I was in the automotive industry for years, but dealt with sexism all the way through it, including trying to go to BOCES in high school. I did get into college, paid for that, and went for a couple of semesters. College, I didn't get any sexism there, but going into the industry, so BOCES, yes, college, no, and then going into the industry, I dealt with a ton of sexism. Actually working in the industry, fell out of love with it after several years of just trying to be seen as an equal, seen for my skills and not my other assets. I worked for myself for a while. I was unhappily married. I was on welfare, but I was working for myself, hauling scrap metal and selling stuff on eBay. I made $10,000 that year, the last year, supporting a family of 5, and I could barely afford welfare, but I was working for myself and frick everything else, kind of thing. It was like, I'd rather be poor and not deal with the sexism and call my own shots. During this time, I sat down with my neighbors to watch the movie Castaway, starring Tom Hanks. And there's a 15-second clip in this movie that this woman is welding these angel wings, and it just spoke to my soul. Something about the arcs and the sparks, and like the resonated with me with the sparks of hell, and so I went towards that light and heat. And I'd say this because I've got a background where I've, like, in like the whole growing up and going to school and all that stuff I dealt with. I've got a background where I've gone through alcoholism, drug addiction, homelessness, mental illness, have overcome all of that through finding welding, and in turn are teaching my son. Like, I went to school for welding against my husband's wishes. He said no. And we didn't have any money. And I understood where he's coming from, but couldn't not. Like, I knew I was meant to be a sculptor, and I can't explain it other than, like, I knew I was meant to do this. Now, I'd never welded before. I had no background in art whatsoever or business. And just kind of like went to work teaching myself. And I went from the mindset of, poor me, I'm a single mom, to poor me, I'm in a relationship I'm unhappy with. Poor me, I don't have any child support. Poor me, all this just crap that I just kept feeding myself, this negative stuff again and again. And just basically built for myself a really crappy life through what I was telling myself.
Yeah.
When I found welding, when I saw this woman welding, I went to work in my mind going, how can I be a welder? How can I be a sculptor? How can I learn this? And so my focus just kind of changed, and it went from that poor me to how can I? And in there, I saved up money against my husband's wishes to go to school, got hired at a custom fab shop, was blessed with the most incredible human beings who, I stand on their shoulders of these brilliant craftsmen who taught me, welding, who taught me fabrication, who saw my excitement. And they basically just taught me everything. And then I, started saving up. I divorced my husband. I bought a garage that had a house attached to it, apparently. And then started teaching myself how to weld the art. I'm like, I'm not sure. Like, they wanted money for both. I only used one, right? But yeah, I taught myself the art. And then after 5 years of that company, who I deeply love and admire, I quit and went full time as an artist September 1st, 2014, and have basically failed my way to success ever since. It was a lot of failure to get there.
I am so intrigued, and I don't know if you can explain it or describe it, but I'm so intrigued by that moment. That was the decision that where you had just said it was I went from the poor me to how can I? And I've been in that mindset for certain things at times in my life, but I'm so curious. You spend so much time in the what I'll call it the misery mindset, and then something clicks. Can you explain? I don't know if it's how or what that felt like, or like what is that? Because that's it's a decision, but it's critical because, like you said, your whole mindset changes.
It's a brilliant question. Thank you so much for asking. I didn't do it on purpose because I had I had been depressed all my life and didn't know it. Driving down the road and just the thought of jerking the wheel and hitting a tree was normal for me.
Wow.
And it just I didn't realize that until it took me many years to realize that it was even not normal, and that I shouldn't be thinking like that. When I saw that movie clip, when I went into auto mechanics, I was in the how can I mode.
Yeah.
How can I get into this? The guidance counselor was sexist. I basically fought tooth and nail to get in. And when I finally did, it wasn't until my senior year. I missed out on a year. I didn't end up getting my second year of BOCES like you're supposed to. Got through college, but couldn't afford to go as far as I wanted. So only got 2 semesters, just everything was, I put myself in these positions, but it was, oh, poor me. I can't get I can't get into BOCES. And it was like, F it, I'll drink, or do drugs, mostly both. And just after, but I got into it, but who I was at the time, I appreciated the living crap out of every moment I had in the automotive industry, but I just kept getting just hit again and hit again and hit again and just knocked down. And I'd get a job I loved, and then something would happen with some scumbag that worked there, and I just didn't know how to deal with it. And so I went to a different place, or when I tried to deal with it, was shot down. hit again. And it just was just like, I fell out of love with that. When it came to, and that was after 7 years. Like, it was a long time, but it was just like, I'm out of here. And I'm grateful for every moment. Like, please don't let me, like, don't let the takeaway be like, I was so grateful. Like, today, I'm so grateful for every person that was a jerk, every situation that wasn't bad. It's made me who I am, and I freaking love me. And that's FU fuel. That FU fuel is what changed everything, because I finally got to a point in my life where it was just like, F it. I will show you. This is what I want. This is who I am. And listen, I didn't understand it at the time. This is hindsight, looking back at it. But I know today, like, looking back, it was my husband going, you can't have the money to go to school. The thing was, he wasn't working at the time I was. And I was like, that's my money. I'm like, I was paying his daughter's child support, not my kid, but his daughter from a previous relationship. And so I had gotten to the point where it was that straw. He's like, you're not going to take, we didn't have any money in the bank. Trust me. There was not like, oh, like, we've got this, money in the bank. No, it was, we rode around in the truck. He played video games. We dragged our 9-month-old around, and it was like, basically we went, we drove around with the hopes of getting gas money every day to have enough money to do it the next day. And it was just like, there wasn't a cash, there wasn't a cash fund. It was that. And so when he was just like, no, I'm like thinking, motherfucker, I'm the one that went out and earned this money. Like, half the time he would much rather do drugs with his friend or play video games. And, yes, he helped some, but it was like raising another kid, which, again, I'm grateful for. Right. But it was like, I made this defiant decision. I'm like, fuck you, I'm going to take this money and do what I want. Now, it took me 9 months to save up to go to school. And part of the money was my grandma and grandpa had passed away. And so I got a small inheritance. And so I think I got like $600, which was a huge chunk of money for me. Right. It was half of what I needed for school. And I was like, this is my money. F you. Like, I'll do what I want with it. It was this giant chip on my shoulder that had been growing and growing and growing for years. And I think it was I've had enough. Yeah. Like, I have had enough of being told. And it was like, he's like, no, you can't. And I'm like, fuck you, I'll show you. Like, that's what started it. Yeah. And then it was just like, when, my mom and dad were like, oh, you're going to waste money. And I won't physically say that to their face. To him, I did. To my parents, I wouldn't. But behind my back, under my breath and behind their back, I'm like, I will show you. And it just became this mantra that I had. Like, every time it was, I didn't know what I was going to do after school. I knew I needed to learn to weld. That was the first thing. Right. I believe it was Martin Luther King's quote, like, you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just know what the first step is. And then the rest of the staircase will be revealed to you. Now, I didn't know what was next. I just knew I needed the weld, and I can't explain it. It made me defiant. And it was just one of those things. It was just like, I'll be damned, man. Everyone's told me no all my life, and I'm tired of being told no. So I'm just going to go and do this. And that defiance, like, over time, like, what a blessing it was. What a blessing that these people told me no. Yeah. What a deep blessing I was told no, because that FU I'll show you is turned into, I am living a life that is beyond my wildest dreams. I do exactly what I want every single day. Yeah. I work for the companies I want to work for. I pick and choose my clients. I could say yes to any interview I want to, because I'm just grateful for what you're doing. And so I want to be involved. So I get to say yes to that. Right. But it started out like FU fuel. It's anger. It's anger, which is energy, and energy is neither good nor bad. It simply is. And what you take your energy and where you focus it, it's a magnifying glass. It's just like, at first it's like, fuck the world. Yeah. And then after a while it becomes like that, F that one individual. And then next thing you know is like, the energy is just, I used it for momentum. And it started out with like, F my husband, I'll show you. Yeah. And then it turned into, like, oh, well, really, where it really, really started out was, and I didn't know this, like I said, it's hindsight. I was in the hospital, and this is before the marriage, before all of it. I was in the hospital for mental issues because of the drugs that I had taken and the decisions that I'd made around the drugs that I'd taken. And I had a doctor. I went to him, my head shrinker. I lovingly refer to him as. He may or may not know that I call him that. A head shrinker. I was like, dude, when do I get out of here? And I mean, like, I was in a lockup.
Wow.
Thorazine shuffle lockup. And I was like, when am I going to get out of here? And this dude's like, never. Like, told me never. Yeah, 3 days later, I was out. Now, I was living with a family because I wasn't capable of living on my own because of the Thorazine shuffle and all the drugs that I'd done previously.
Right.
My dad didn't think I'd ever be able to write my name again.
Wow.
Here the fuck I am. But the doctor told me you will never get out. And that was the beginning of it. And it was, I will show you. Like, don't you dare ever. And I love when people today, like, I look for and I put myself physically in places where I can use fuck you fuel. And another thing I call, which is death ground, which is sail to the island and burn the boats. It's success or death. So here I am living in Florida. I'm living in my bus. It's purposeful. I have a house. But I put my house up for sale and I moved down to Daytona Beach, Florida, which is where I want to live. It's where I want my shop. And I've put myself on death ground and I'm here looking for a shop now.
I love it. It's funny. I heard a line in a show yesterday that you made me think of it when you were talking about that. And it was there can be no gap between what you want to happen and what you're willing to do to make it happen. Ooh. And that fired back into my brain just hearing you talk about that, because that's what you did. You closed the gap completely, right? What you wanted to happen, you were willing to do what it took. So, you mentioned people who have kind of impacted you. Do you want to shout out a couple of names that were just really influential in the launching of what you're doing, in your progress of what you're doing? I'm just curious if there are a couple of people maybe who are really high on that list for you.
Oh, first of all, my greatest and biggest shout out goes to everyone that ever told me no. I'm so grateful for you. Like, all my haters, which I don't think there's any left on social media anymore. But for a long time, I got like you would get the haters. Anyone that's ever told me no, like, I'm so damn grateful for them.
Yeah.
But as far as like for brilliant human beings who, I have to start with the welding industry is Cheryl Barton, who taught me how to TIG weld. Kenny, why am I going to come up with Kenny at Cameron. Kenny at Cameron Manufacturing Design, who took a chance on me when I didn't have the skills, but saw the passion and my ability to learn. Like, so grateful for him. Elva Grice taught me the art of fabrication and MIG welding. I'm so grateful for him. The entirety of Cameron Manufacturing and Design, who there's so many people there that really went and took their time and shared their knowledge. Man, like, the list goes on. The companies, I've had a lot of companies that have stepped up and just honored and showcased what I'm doing, and just mind blown for the support that I get today. I'm very, very grateful to just so many people that have, like, people that follow me, that support me by their likes, their shares, their comments, that will, I do a live stream and they just show up, and it means the absolute freaking world to me. I'm truly gobsmacked by the support that I get online, and that, I just wanted the weld art, and the fact that people step up and really just want to see what I'm doing, the people that are buying my books and watching my videos. I'm so grateful. Like, it is absolutely mind-blowing to me that for the support that I get. So thank you all for that.
You're obviously
Absolutely.
incredibly authentic, and I think that's probably one of the reasons people are just so drawn to you. So Dina, I didn't know this until you shared it before we went live, but Dina's starting, like, she's got a welder now. Like, she's gone down. Dina,
Yes,
what
I
do you
do.
like? So what do you have, and how can Barbie give you some, like, a little push forward here into the welding world?
Oh, Barbie could give me a lot of push forwards. I'm definitely going to get her books just because. What I was telling Barbie backstage is that I actually started working at a steel mill right out of high school. And I completely understand, me being a woman in my industry and you being a woman in your industry, it's very rough. I remember this job, there was an ad in the paper and it said steel workers needed, no experience necessary. And I showed up to try to get that job and they said, we don't have any office jobs. And I said, I don't want one. I want the one that's in the paper, the one that says you have steel workers needed, no experience necessary. And they wouldn't give it to me. They just kept going rounds and rounds. You don't have experience, this. So they finally said, we have a data entry job that's at the plant. It's only for 2 weeks. And I'm like, give it to me. I know once they see me, they're going to be happy. So I think I ended up working as a temp worker for about 6 months. And in that 6 months, it was such a great time because I got to be in probably one of the hardest places for a female, which is in a steel mill. And I had the millwrights who were building the line actually come in and they would pull me out and say, come on, Dina, we want to show you some stuff. So even though they weren't supposed to be, because I was a temp worker doing data entry, they would take me out in the plant and they would show me how to weld, and they were teaching me how to cut with a torch, and they called me chop saw because I could do a straight line. And then last year, my husband bought me a welder for Christmas. So I'm loving it. I built a couple parts for a couple of customers of mine and I loved it, but I've got a much longer way to go, Barbie, and I know that you can help me.
From what you were talking about earlier, you've got fabrication skills, which is actually not pretty rare, but there's a difference between a welder and a fabricator. And you've got the artist side, the fabrication side, which is just zero limits to what you can make. So I'm super, one, I'm happy for your clients who are now going to, end up benefiting from that, but also that I'm excited for you that you're, one, that you had the wherewithal to go in there and you're like, I'll get in where I can fit in. Like, that's FU fuel. That's pretty dang impressive. And I think it's super smart for you to like understand, like, as soon as they see me, they're going to know, like, they're going to know that they've hired me for the wrong thing, and I'll get the skills that I want. So congratulations and bravo for that, sister.
Thank you.
I think,
and I have to say, Barbie, you've touched something with me, and I'm sure that you've touched a lot of people, and it's not regarding the welding. It was regarding the question that Mark had asked you about that pivotal moment when you made that switch from saying, more of the poor me, I have all these bad things, to the I'm not going to put up with this anymore. I'm going to trudge forward. And I have to say that it spoke to me because I've been in the same place that you've been before. I've been in those places, and it is extremely hard for when you've had that type of life to finally make a change and say, I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to be the victim. I don't want to be any of that. So it takes an extreme amount of effort. It takes a special person to be able to stand up to that and say, I'm not doing it anymore. And I've done the same thing, which is, don't tell Dina that she can't do it, because that's probably the easiest way to get me to prove you wrong, because those are fighting words for me.
I love it. It's just, anger is just energy, and energy is neither good nor bad. What you focus it on, like that right there, and it's just like, that's the basis for fuck you fuel, is that just tell me I can't and I'll show you I can. And it's just, we've all got crap that we've gone through. Everybody has a story. Yeah. I'm very open and vocal with mine, which has given other people that ability to talk about it too, which I think is just, it's super important. But that, when you realize that it's just like, look, it doesn't have to be like this, which also, I made my life. Everything that it was. I made the sexual harassment. I made the homelessness. I made the drug addiction. I made the choices that led to that. Now, it doesn't give anyone rights to put their hands on me. It doesn't give anyone right, blah, blah, blah. But also, I made the decisions that put me there. So and I didn't realize this, like, again, like, this is all hindsight. Like, I didn't go into welding to change my life and become this world renowned, whatever the, like, the titles that I've got now, which is mind blowing, right? It just wanted to weld stuff. Like, that's all it was, is I want to weld art. What it's turned into, like, I can see now, but it sure as hell wasn't my intention to be like, yeah, I don't want to be, I don't want to be angry anymore. I don't want to be on medication anymore. I don't, I want to be able to drink socially. These were never like things I'm like, let me go set out to do that. It just, things have happened because of that FU fuel. But once I figured out what it was just like, write it down. This is a secret sauce right here.
I love it. Now, Dina, I could see like one of Barbie's, like, we could like do a custom dragon with the labeler coming out of the dragon. I think that would be incredible.
I would love it.
So I know this is going to be hard, but after looking at some of your art and more recently, I think you did something, it might have been for yourself. It was that, I think it's from Pirates of the Caribbean, that kind of, you were hanging tools on it with all the tentacles coming out of it. I loved it. Could you narrow down your top 3 favorite pieces that you've created?
Oh, man. So it obviously has to be the next one, because I think that's what all artists say, is whatever is coming next is going to be the best one. I feel like that's just like you're supposed to say that, so I probably won't say that one. My favorites ever have been, there's a sad angel with her head on her arms like this. She's in front of a funeral home. That one's one of my favorites because she's actually tattooed on my arm. Well, let's see, whichever way the camera is. I've got her tattooed on my arm because that was I knew I could do this. I've been talking about it for years, but that's the first time, in my opinion, I created a masterpiece sculpture. That was the one. And the gentleman that commissioned that took a huge chance on me. In my opinion, maybe he saw what I didn't see yet. I knew I could do it. Another favorite was, oh my gosh, the firefighter sculpture I did for the First Responders Honor Park last year. Last year it was unveiled in New York at First Responders Honor Park, but it's a firefighter rescuing a child. Okay. That project was really special to me because of, one, its hometown, and two, there's so many first responders. Like in our hometown, the town I lived in for 11 years, and where the area I grew up in, 1,900 people according to the last census. All our firefighters and all our firefighters are volunteer. I don't even there may or may not be one or two that are paid, but I think almost all of them are volunteer, which means these are people who, most of them have never met me, and will come into my house if my house is on fire and come and rescue me and my cat, my fish, and everything else that's precious to me. And they're volunteers. I mentioned they're volunteers. They're not getting paid, but will put their life at risk. So I'm just deeply in love with first responders, all of the first responders. Whether it's military, whether it's, our service and rescue dogs, all of them. They mean the absolute world to me. So that sculpture was just pure love incarnate. Like, when I create like that, it just, there's nothing more special. And then another one, gosh, there's so many. How do I even pick? I did a 5-foot tall phoenix sculpture. It hasn't even been unveiled yet, but is about to be unveiled in New York.
It hasn't been, but you showed it online, right?
I showed it online, but it hasn't been unveiled. It hasn't been installed. It's installed now, and it's going to be unveiled soon. That was a sculpture I did for the local cancer center, the Folk Cancer Center in Elmira, New York, who has, I donated a major portion of that sculpture because of the Sunrise Rotary reached out to me, and they, asked me to do a sculpture. They couldn't afford it, but these guys have done so much for our local people. I've had my cousin's gone through cancer. A best friend of mine. They've, a lot of my family members, even distant relatives, and they've served our whole community.
Yeah.
And so that one meant the world to me, to be able to do that, just because of when people are getting their chemo and they've got to sit in these chairs for hours, and there's like this long window that they look out of.
Yep.
The sculpture is installed, or is being installed outside that window so that they can look at it. And so, you know, for me, the phoenix represents rebirth and rebuilding yourself. I have a phoenix tattoo, like, you know, from here to my, you know, my sleeve is a major part of it. And so resonating with the being broken down, yep, and rebuilding oneself, it just completely resonates with me. And so when they reached out to me about that, that's the first thing I thought of, is that, you know, thinking about my friend and when she went through breast cancer and how it broke her down and she needed to rebuild herself. I couldn't think of anything more special for that spot. And so it's, you know, it has a lot of messages for a lot of different reasons, but that one's super personal to me. And I just got done doing another, which this is 4 now. I'm just going to keep going. Is that I was blessed to be chosen to make a sculpture for the High Seas Rally. They have a dialysis fund where this year they took 11 people on the High Seas Rally. It's the world's only motorcycle rally in a cruise ship. And they were able to take 10 bikers that were on dialysis, provide all their medical care and support staff for that, all the equipment for dialysis right on the ship. And they gave these 11 people plus their 11 support people the ability to travel to, I think we went to 4 or 5 different countries. It was a mind-blowing experience. But the sculpture, which was a treasure chest, was auctioned off during the High Seas Rally, and now it'll help. It was part of raising a little bit over $300,000. Not by itself. There was a lot of people that donated stuff, but in total, over $300,000 was raised for the High Sea Rally Dialysis Fund. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully working with them again next year because of the good that they're doing.
Amazing. Yeah,
That is
my long answer.
Oh, you're good. I want to encourage everybody to go to barbiethewelder.com because your art is front and center there, and it's gorgeous. And also make sure you connect with her on LinkedIn and get to her Etsy shop because she's selling merch, books, and other cool things there. So yeah, just incredible. I don't want to keep you too long. I'm kind of curious. As an artist, I have a feeling you like to work to music. So do you have the type of music or a band that you love working to?
Gosh, it depends on how I'm creating. So I literally create pretty much every second of every day. If I'm not physically working in my shop, I'm creating rebranding. So if I'm writing my books, I tend to go towards opera. I have I have playlists on Spotify that you can actually follow, but I've got it's called Classical Badassery, and I've got all classical music, and some of it's like Mozart and dubstep kind of thing. I just have these wild, I love to find stuff like that. There's
That's
definitely
awesome.
some heavy metal in the shop, and then I've got like Barbie the Welder shop mix, which is just like a eclectic. Everything from Marilyn Manson to Mozart. I do listen to a lot of wilds.
I'm the same way.
Okay, so we have a controversial question that we bring up on all of our Industry of Impacts. So get ready. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes, if you put it with bacon and not ham. I'm like, pineapple and bacon is so yummy.
Okay.
Mark, I know you ask that every time, Mark, and I say no, but I'm with her. I like her recipe better.
Well, we've definitely gotten the spectrum on that. So just maybe you can answer this, maybe not, but what's next? I mean, I know the immediate, get a shop, all that. What do you see? Where do you want to go? What's kind of the longer term vision?
Oh, this is so much fun. So I am going to entrench myself in the motorcycle industry next by building a chopper, baby. I have no freaking clue what I'm doing, but I'm obsessed with motorcycles and have been since I was a little kid. Part of the reason for moving to Daytona Beach is so I can ride my motorcycle every single freaking day, which I have. So I'm gonna build a bike. You'll wait for it. That's in 2023. Releasing and publishing the kids' books with branded merchandise behind it. That's coming up.
Love that.
I am also going to move into the music industry. That's just a mystery. You just wait for it because I freaking love music and I like being front stage and backstage, right? So I'm moving into that, which I've got some prizes. You wait for that one. Oh man, just devious. I feel like devious is freak, right? Like it's just like I'm going wherever I want to go and I'm building whatever I want to go. And so I'm just like, where's the most fun? And it's with bikes and it's with concerts and different venues like that. So moving into that. And then I'm probably going to be playing back with furniture again. It's been like when I first started, I made furniture and loved it. And I'm probably going to play in that industry a little bit also. I just get in where I can fit in. I love functional art. It just makes me happy. Like people are like, oh, don't touch it. And I'm just like, yeah, touch it and play with it.
Wow. Love it. Awesome. Well, we can't thank you enough, man. You're spending time with us and being who you are and being so open. Really means a lot to me. I know to all of us doing this. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Barbie. You've been such a wonderful inspiration to us.
I'm so grateful for you guys' time. Thank you so much for talking with me today and asking some really thoughtful questions.
Awesome. All right. Have a good one. And we're going to follow you. So we can't wait to see the shop.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Absolutely. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.